for a local educational agency to select which things they use to inform basically the public about the failure of subgroups and the lack of responsibility for the state to pick up on the lack of subgroup progress for African Americans. And I'm trying to understand what's really going on here, because this is the year 2012, we're moving on to 2013. African American students are not doing well in the state of California. The public conversation about it is nil to none. There is no conversation about the failure rate of African American students. There is plenty of information about shootings and, homicides, deaths, all that, all the dysfunction that happens when you have an uneducated population. But for the public school system to not pick up or not be held accountable to educating all kids, that conversation is not happening. These are our tax dollars. I pay taxes too. I don't care how little they are being paid. Many people pay tax dollars. We expect a functional educational system. Most people don't understand what happens in that schoolhouse. They don't even know that they're taxpayers and they're supposed to be going over there to ensure that kids are making progress. Most people don't participate locally. There is no responsibility for that level of participation either. But the one thing that a child is entitled to is a free and appropriate public education. That's the FAPE. That's the, under IDEA that we're talking about in the special ed, that's what the kid is entitled to. That's what's not happening in the state of California, and that's not what's being required of the board to ensure that all kids are making progress. And that's what we really need to think about looking at when we talk about systems this year, ensuring that all kids are making it through the system and not going to, the pipeline to prison. Marian Edelman Wright, she's always talking about that prison pipeline, but we're not having her here to discuss it, and I think it would be great that she came.
Good afternoon, Sherry Griffith with AXA. We fully support continuing to move towards Common Core, and we know that the proposal is well intended. We do have some concerns we'd like to raise, however. The challenge that we face, and this is a good example as we transition, is that even as we move towards Common Core, the actual metric in which we're judging our districts who are now receiving this sanction is based on the proficiency on the CSTs. For 2 years to meet adequate review progress. So we have some concern. It says may. We want to be mindful of the fact that these districts are going to aspire to meet the current metric at the same time they transition. So we want to assure that those technical assistance providers work with these districts so that they can continue to gain proficiency on the current metric and not feel obligated to move off of that until they are prepared and ready to do so. Also, there is some confusion if this is retroactive for the 6 cohorts or just the 56 that you will be taking action on in a minute. And so we would like that to be clarified for the districts. The bottom line is that these districts who want to get out of program improvement, corrective action, will need 2 years of comparative data on whatever metrics the federal government gives us. And it may be based on Common Core, which, as you know, we will not be testing on until 2014. So we're comfortable with the current corrective action definition, which is standards aligned and instituting a new curriculum. But if you continue with this one, we just want to caution you about the transition phase.
Chris Swenson, can you comment on that?
Sure. The intent is not to take districts away from any of the metrics that we use. In fact, I think you're going to hear us reinforce repeatedly that until the law changes, that's the law, the accountability system, the sanctions. We're going to live within the constraints of the law. Now, that being said, we're going to search for as much flexibility as we can around those provisions, but we are not ever advocating violating the current law. It is the last word in the recommendation. If adopted, this definition will supersede any previously approved definitions. Frankly, we felt it was not fair to hold the 200 and I think it's 82 districts included in the previous cohorts hostage to an old system. It sort of set up a parallel system in place where some districts could explore their transition to the Common Core, while others might feel as if they were being prevented from doing so. That didn't feel either fair nor even in the long run productive. I think to Ms. Griffith's point, I think the districts know the metric against which they're being judged, and I believe that most of them will probably do what they think is best for their students according to that metric. And again, we believe that's also consistent with allowing districts the flexibility to make some local decisions about what their students need. So.
Okay, that clarifies it. There's no more board discussion, then we're ready to vote on Department C recommendation. All those in favor, raise your hands. Okay, that is approved. And now on to item 15, assignment of collective action for